Happy days.
Hey, welcome to the JuneAlt.net Lockdown Edition, the Collector's Edition. Please comment to tell us you're there, anyone, so we know we're not just talking to each other.
Oh, I've got, my friends here.
That's right. I got my family here.
You got your drink? Oh, that's it. All right, everyone take a drink. It's lockdown. Every time we say lockdown.
My one is less than 0.5% alcohol, so it's not going to take me very far through the lockdown.
Yeah, so's mine. It's water.
Yeah, 0%. Do we have any audience?
Oh, come on. Where's the audience saying something? Say something, audience. We want to hear you because we need to interact with you today. Definitely going to have some conversations which involve feedback from the audience as we jump into various things and get your opinions on what we're talking about as well. So say hi, join in. I could actually check the stream and see how many people have joined so far.
Yeah, I suppose we could check the Twitch stream.
We could do that. It's the best way to start.
All right. Have you got one, Richard? Here we go. I think it's come through now. The numbers are coming through.
Sweet. All right.
Well,
I'm going to join on the other monitor and just get the whole circular reference thing going on.
It's always nice to have the echo with the 5-second delay.
Okay, I'll mute it. That works.
Well, I think we're good.
No, don't check that. Yeah, okay, thanks. All right, I've been told not to check the Twitch stream. So checking's not happening. All done. Sweet. Cool. All right, so what are we doing, James?
All right, well, we've got the competition as usual based on listening very carefully. But I think Richard mentioned we might cover Windows 11, Visual Studio,
Windows 11.
and also Build. Actually, the Build was the headline.
Yeah, and then all the other announcements came out this week, and and the last week, and thought, oh, let's just pile it all in together.
Let's all have it together. Why not?
Chuck it all up and see what happens, and take what was kind of a run through of anything interesting out of Build and add to it all the other things that are sort of interesting. Amit, hello. I need to say hi to people as we're going. Alon, hello. So yeah, I'll try and make sure I say hello. Or James you can just shout out over.
I'll say hello.
I am doing well, thank you very much. I am enjoying lockdown. It is the best.
Happy lockdown. Yes.
Happy lockdown. We do love a good lockdown, but at least look, we're here, we're talking tech, we've got something to do, and we don't have a commute.
This is
so,
true.
It's the silver lining thing.
And we didn't go back to a physical location for alt.net, luckily, because we would have just had to when we just started. There you go.
Yeah, that was time, wasn't it? Let's all arrange, see if we can't get ourselves a physical location, and door shut.
There we go.
Yes, thank you, David. We do love it. It's a nice change from Victoria being the one that's always in the lockdown. We just decided to cause the rest of the country to shut down instead. So, even the states that don't have anything preemptively putting in restrictions just in case they feel like they're missing out. So thinking of you, South Australia, the FOMO is real, apparently. All right, so what are we doing? We're talking Build, we're talking Visual Studio, we're talking Windows 11. Where should we start? Stream, you can shout out. Where do you want us to start? Or me to start, because then I can come up with crazy things and fill a second or two while we wait for you to type. And in the meantime, get something out of my own boot.
And Richard,
you can tell us what because my footwear is an UGG boot.
You know what? I purchased one recently as well. Or two, even.
Oh, wow. You don't just wear one on one foot and a shoe on the other foot?
From our sock basket, it sometimes seems like that, but you should too.
And if you've got an UGG boot, join the party.
You can comment in the chat.
So the Build conference
prize for having UGG boots. Sorry, Richard, go on.
Hang on, is yours branded UGG boot, or is it just like like you've got the actual logo on the back of it?
It says UGG on it, so I guess.
Yeah, or is it a copy boot from Singapore or something like that?
I went to Big W, but then I moved on to get one actually made from real stuff.
Real stuff, made from real stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So focusing. Let's start with build. So build came and went last month, just after we did our catch up last month as well. And cheap women's hugs. Yeah, nice. I'm not even reading that off the stream.
Actually, ironically enough, they didn't have a small enough size.
Yeah. So a few things came out of build that were interesting. Obviously, build's one of those things where Microsoft talks about what they want us to be doing versus what we want to be doing. So let's talk about what we want to be doing. What we don't want to be doing is power apps, apparently. There was a bunch of stuff talking about power apps, this, power apps, that. And I'm like, yeah, that's very exciting. And the whole world of work and all the things that kind of boring. So if you wanted any of that covered, I'm not going to help you. There's probably other user groups and meetups that you can go to where they'll be all excited about that. Not this little fella. James, do you like power apps?
No comment.
All right, so let's jump into something else. .NET 6. .NET 6 was covered off, definitely covered off during build. And Preview 4 was the version at that point in time. True to form, .NET 6 pipeline is a preview every month, roughly, up until November when .NET Conf is coming. So if you're not aware of it, as I do the classic, just type stuff into a browser, .NET Conf.net, because that way you've got like a palindrome of .NETs and conferences and .NETs. I can tell you when .NET 6 is going to be released, and it's probably then. Just saying. Just saying. Light switch, yes. You'll also see between now and then there's focus on conferences that happen. There's an F# one coming, and if you were curious, the amount of F# that was covered at build was... And then we moved on. Sorry if you're an F# fan. That said, preview .NET 6 and a bunch of the things that are coming out there really focused a lot on Blazor. Blazor all the things. Blazor this, Blazor that, Blazor everything else. If you don't do Blazor, then question your sanity, kind of. Blazor everything. And that's also been the case on the Visual Studio Twitch streams of late. There's been a whole bunch of things about Blazor, and obviously that's a big thing they want to push. I will be honest, I still don't really get it. I get it, but I don't get it. I'm just trying to find, it feels like maybe I'm just behind or missing the point, but it feels like it's a problem looking for a solution, or a solution looking for a problem. Probably the second one. James, have you thought much about it?
I haven't used it much, no.
Yeah, and if you look at the ASP.NET side of things, especially on Preview 4, lots of Blazor things. Lots and lots of Blazor stuff. That's probably the bad one to pick on. But it's like, so build all our websites that we currently can build with, JavaScript and everything else. Yes, can stop .NET devs from learning JavaScript until you need to interop or something else. But even the MAUI side of things, which we'll talk about in a little bit, there's binding, so you can take a MAUI app and make Blazor a target. And so, they're
too late to the party.
Yeah. It's like, with where all the development's going, and in front-end frameworks with React, with Angular, Vue.js, Ember if you want, there's a whole bunch of things that are really driving hard on that. Build the web front end as a web front end and keep the packaging small. I suppose there's probably one redeeming feature out of it, but I'm not sure it's a huge enough selling point, is that if you move to Blazor, you avoid the NPM problem. Download the internet every time you want to put a hello world on the page, and the left pad issues and all those sort of things that have happened in the NPM ecosystem becomes a lot simpler from a WebAssembly perspective. And there are admittedly some performance benefits if you do WebAssembly with things like 3D rendering and some better speed through certain aspects. But in general, as a general target to deploy everything to, especially if you've got a huge amount of, I suppose, front-end applications already built, then, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's already invested in something else, so it's hard for people to switch over. Unless there's some sort of massive, compelling reason, why would you do it if you're already, I mean, you're already familiar with JavaScript these days.
I'm sure there's some businesses where their entire computerized system is a bunch of Access applications. Sure, if they're all using Access, they're not going to use Blazor though. They're going to be sticking with the Power Apps. Yeah, I don't get it. So we'll wait and see.
However, have to wait and see.
Yeah. I'm kind of waiting to be proven wrong. VB.net means Blazor. Ouch. Sharing the same .NET source code across the front and back end without rewriting it in JavaScript? Yeah, marginal. More a case of if I have my WPF applications possibly and decided I wanted to run them on the web, I could, but do I really want to be doing that and taking across all those different concepts? Really not sure. Old web form stuff will move to Blazor, maybe, yeah, maybe, but old web form stuff generally gets left behind and not converted. Just reading off comments, by the way, for those who aren't seeing them on the stream.
Oh, sorry, I should be putting them up here. Remiss.
You could. Hey, there you go.
There we are.
So yeah, a whole lot of WebAssembly stuff, but not just from the ASP.NET team, also the Maui team. You know, if you go Maui Blazor and stick it into a search engine of your choice, there is more stuff. Oops, and I clicked a video. That was a bad thing to do. Classic, hit the first link you find.
Sponsored link.
It's a little slow on my machine at the moment, which I think is just because I'm streaming through things, but regardless. That said, it's a nice segue into this in a second, but yeah, so Blazor Web Views in there, so you can host Blazor applications in your Maui applications just to go full inception there, which can then host something else that could then host something else inside something else. And eventually WinForms running on your mobile phone inside Blazor, inside cross-platform application stuff. So that's cool. So yeah, we'll come back to Maui actually. Let me run through a few other things. So .NET 6 in general, ASP.NET's minimal APIs are a thing. If you're interested, by the way, this is cool. So at the last build conference, I think it was, or .NET conference, there was that conversation around early access for app services running on Azure, already running preview builds and everything else. So this, wow, that page isn't loading and it's text. That was good.
It needs to be done in WebAssembly. I think it
should be done in WebAssembly. Write the browser in WebAssembly. But yeah, great to see that if you've got .NET 6 code, you can already, what the on earth is going on there? Stupid page. Running it in Azure, go nuts. Wow, it is taking forever, which is nice. So that's cool. Probably the more interesting thing in terms of just rambling and talking at the same time, waiting for more questions. New Windows 11 apps seem to be PWAs, do they, Mr. Andrew? Not all of them. We'll get to that in a second. because they're also Android apps. But minimal APIs, just to give you an example, and this concept was talked about a fair bit, where you can basically go create builder if you're here, and then effectively go the Nancy approach of just mapping a path to a function, and then having that run so that there's not much code, not much in terms of plumbing and everything else. So that the code sample below, the create web host builder, do all the defaults, do all the boilerplate stuff, just so you can do a couple of lines like that, take it away, get rid of it all, make it easier to code. Really nice. The purpose of this one, this is something that's probably worth having a think about as you do development. If you're doing microservices and you've got just a couple of APIs or simple endpoints that you need in that service, then not having a huge amount of code and being able to do it all as effectively one CS file with all your everything in there and just go from there makes a lot of sense. And it's nice for those who are doing just simple things that need to be dropped out. Less code to look at makes it easier to spot things, easier to actually focus on the valuable part of your application, not all the plumbing around it. Definitely a microservice thing though, or an Azure Functions thing, and kind of interesting. It does talk, I suppose, as well to this trend in terms of what's happening in C# as well, as a language, of just working on simplifying things and making it easier to do small stuff. So we saw with C#9, the ability to do less code and do those main programs without all the plumbing around it. C#10 is continuing that. So if I think about some of the things here, in fact, let's just diverge and go to C#10, shall we, James?
Sure. Richard, do you want to maybe make the browser full screen and just up the size?
Oh, yeah, I could do that.
Just a thought.
Just for old people who don't see very well, like myself. Is that big enough?
That's lovely for me.
That's good for you. If it's good for you, I'm happy. So we look at C#10, and this is the current state of things, what's actually in where and so forth. This one here, global using directive, this is kind of cool. So the idea behind this one is that, all those using statements that litter the first 30 lines of your code, take them away, put them all in one spot, and bring it into one area wherever the example is. Specification, click the right page, would be handy. And basically just go, hey, this is a global using, so you're putting the word global in front of your identifier, and then it's picked up across everything. So really handy for things like system, link, whatever else that you tend to have repeated all over the place. Put it in one spot, forget about it. Job done. Less code again per file. Easier to see, which is cool. Records as structs as well is coming in. Previously, C#9 records were classes. So obviously making them structs as well. Yeah, I see that comment. We had a performance problem. Then we introduced caching. Now we have two problems. Yeah, records as structs, kind of handy so that you've, again, just taking that idea of, I suppose, the functional approaches into C#, but putting it into classes that, or structs so that you're on the stack, which is cool. The other one that was in here, which isn't quite here yet, file scope namespaces. So this one's the idea that instead of having to put a namespace, open bracket, close bracket in all your files, it'll just pick it up based on the path. So that disappears, and you can do that, or you can put a namespace at the top or whatever else. So that'll make, again, less code, easier to read, less indentations, less boilerplate. And again, these are all good improvements in terms of the language. So it's nice to see some of that stuff coming through. One other thing that's actually interesting, null parameter checking. So this one, let's just go to the GitHub issue for this one. Pretend that I had it open before. Turning this boilerplate code, which I'm sure no one's ever written because we never do null checking, becomes that. So just put a little bang after it and say, hey, make sure this isn't null, which is much, much nicer. Automatically does all those sort of things. And then the other advantage of that is that the compiler can then pay attention to those things as well in terms of checking any calls and going, you know, that target over there that you're trying to call, that really shouldn't be null. So slap yourself in the head. So you combine that with null reference types and everything else, and it all starts coming together. Non-nullable types don't, just for Alan, non-nullable types doesn't mean code can't pass you a null.
I think if you scroll down, it probably has the answer, actually. It looks like that was...
C# will give you a warning, but it's this is for runtime value checking. Yeah. Null reference is an opt-in. And again, if you've got a library that might have all the null reference checking, it doesn't mean that your caller doesn't pass you a null anyway and cause you to blow up. So you can't assume that that's the case. So, and I know doing this because I've done it in some of my own code separately, you put in the null type reference checks, but you still have to go and do the runtime confirmation. So that exclamation mark's helpful. Who's done that, by the way? Anyone gone and put null reference checks in their existing code? James, do you do that? Don't know. No.
Yeah, I won't say the dark secrets.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's NDA. We'd have to kill you. Talking of .NET 6, this one's new. You might have missed this one through the various announcements. New types for date only and time only, which is cool. I don't know if any of you have done any fun things with dates where you're trying to do it with timestamps, and it's just kind of awkward knowing what date it is. You send the date time to the front end. You only wanted the time, and it comes through with all sorts of things and puts you into weird shapes. The nice approach here is that a date and a time only makes it also more explicit what the intent of your variable is, that this is only for storing dates, not a date time where you just ignore the time section, for example.
It's kind of ironic they ended up date only and time only rather than, you know, date and date time, but there you go.
Because they were taken.
Yes.
And another one that's interesting and has a little bit of code around it is some async improvements, as you can see by the title of the page. And let me just bump that one up for you as well, because we can.
Maybe. Yes.
So this, wow, there you go. Now it's really big. You can see that, right, James?
That's very good. I like
That's good. The fact that you can do a wait with a time span now. The interesting thing, as you can see on the comment here, milliseconds for timeouts, not so much anymore. Go for a time span now. I'm not sure what to make of that one. It's probably just a habit to change. But I suppose, again, it also makes it clear if you see, instead of just seeing like 1,000 sitting there and go, what unit of time was that again? Because sometimes we forget, or was that 4 zeros or 5 zeros? And do I have to put like the little underscore separator in so I can read my own code, versus create the time span and just send it in, and then it's always explicit. But little helper methods, things that make some of the, I suppose, the traps that we can fall into as developers harder to fall into. Doesn't mean we can't do bugs like we always have, but hopefully more helpful. Task delay time span internally converts to milliseconds with disastrous results, says Alan. Love to know what the disastrous result was. Probably a bad story there. All right. Switching context, let's do this. This being, there's a little icon over here on the left you can possibly make out called Visual Studio 22. Help about. It's Visual Studio 22. Preview 64-bit, baby. 64 gorgeous bits, because we all want to open solutions with 3,000 files in them at once.
Well, it's not that early in the piece to have a 64-bit app, really.
No, it's probably not. Interestingly, though, and unsurprisingly, it seems that this version uses twice as much memory as Visual Studio 2019. Go figure, huh? No, it genuinely does. Something about being 64-bit and not 32-bit. Actually, let me open it. Let me open 2019. Just do an open, just for fun. There's the old one. All right, and Task Manager. Of course, Edge is using 1.2 gig of RAM. There we go.
Alan's got a reason for an increase in memory.
All pointers are double the memory footprint, and VS is mostly pointers. Yeah, probably. So let me go by memory here. And there's Visual Studio 22 with a solution open at 858 gigabytes. And VS is currently doing its best to chew up as much memory as it can while it loads up in the background. Let me open this project, which is the same one. Just open it for direct comparison. Let it load up, do its thing. Now, VS on my machine, the 2019 also has extensions loaded, so we'll get a little bit more memory in there. And we'll sit here and watch the memory just get eaten away. Tick, 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 tick. Tick, 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 tick. Come on, load up, do your thing. Any second now. When the spinning mouse stops. Are you excited, everyone? I'm sure you're excited. Come on. Any second. All right, that's probably enough. There we go. There's code. Good enough. You're close enough to load it. And, oh, in this case, wow, it's still going. It's trying to catch up. It was using more before. And now it's made a liar of me. Awesome.
22 is a little bit ahead. Yeah.
It's still, no, see now, I don't know what it's doing in the background. Now it's still chewing away at the memory. Oh, it's losing. Oh, it's switched.
Oh, well, it looks pretty much the same.
So much for Richard.
Yeah, quick close the Task Manager before anyone
What
sees.
a clown. Don't trust him. He doesn't know what he's doing. There you go. I switched it around. I made it load. Oh, no. Now VS2022 is loading up stuff in the background.
Yeah, so we got a question whether which one's got resharp here as well.
Oh, no, here it goes. Now I've opened, maybe it's because I've kicked the C# file in. And it's, anyway. It uses a little bit more memory. But let's actually do this. So this is hitting F5 on it. Now, this particular app does a few things. So it's got a a React application sitting here, which is calling to a backend API. There we go. Doing a fetch into weather forecast, which is actually this controller over here, which is just returning 5 random temperatures, which is cool. So at the moment, we can see it starting up. I should probably stop this guy for the moment, just for fun. And I will kill you as well, Mr. 19. Goodbye, murdered.
Maybe.
All right. Eventually jump back to here. That's cool. Now this is using something kind of interesting. I don't know how many of you do front end work. or at least do stuff. But you can see there's a line here that says starting the SPA development server. So instead of basically running ASP.NET Core or the Kestrel server as the main thing serving all the static content, and then kind of breaking that whole hot reload thing that you can do in JavaScript, and the various web servers around, the Webpack side of things and everything that happens on React, Angular, and Vue and so forth. They now proxy the call. So when you start the back-end code, they actually now redirect all the calls to the front-end dev server and have a hook that goes, if it's for an API call, for example, proxy it through to us. So it's kind of a reverse thing. So instead of Kestrel being at the front, it's now at the back doing the back-end API things. And then the front end, as you can see, it's actually started the React server here. And I will have the front-end code in a browser window wherever it went. Here it is. Let me just bring that down a little bit and stick it to the side, because what I'm going to do is have this on this side and do the hot reload stuff that they've been talking about. So let's play around firstly with this and do something really boring like super date. Super date. Everyone's been on one of those. And you'll see here, if you watch this window, this will do hot reload when I hit save. So it's got the file watcher going on. It's doing a rebuild, and I should have actually had the window open. That would have helped. Let me change it back.
Yeah, let's try another change there, Richard.
Yeah, just trust me. And there's the hot reload happening. So the date's changed. Date with James. Etc. Because everyone wants a date with James. In fact, 5 dates in a row. Is it going to be hot on a date with James? Temperature says no.
Pretty random,
yes, at the same time. Kind of confusing, but I always like my dates with James to be bracing. I don't understand that.
Scorching, that sounds pretty good.
Scorching, that's what it's like.
And no one said 1 degree scorching. All right. I'm not sure about this app, Richard.
You sure?
Like
it's showing the concepts. It might not be. It might be a demo app that comes.
Did you write unit tests for this, Richard? Let's see your acceptance test.
And yes, Groom Silver. I have no idea how to say that one. Yes, the random weather API gets its data right as often as the bomb does. Correct. All right, now the more interesting one is this. Let's say I'm sitting here. Now, normally, if I change a little bit of code like this, let's just give it 6 results back and hit save. I would have to go and rebuild, restart. I've got to do all that sort of thing again. I don't want to do all of that. Instead, there's a little button that's turned up in 22, which is this hot reload inside .NET code. So if I hit that button now, behind the scenes, this is doing a build. It's going to push all the changes, but you'll see there's nothing really happening here in the front end. The little icons changed, so it kind of went dark and then appeared again. This page itself, without actually reloading, now has 6 results. Or I might make that 10 to make it really obvious.
Right, show us how fast it is, Richard. If you just flick right across, does it get it fast enough for us?
There you go.
Oh,
There's obviously no reload on this page. I didn't want to do a full reload, but if I hit this button again, let's drop it back to 5. Okay, so save my changes, hit that, and quick enough to go here and here. And I've already got my changes in play, which is cool. So that idea of doing development as we're going and really shortening that in a dev loop, love it. I'm pretty much going to adopt this in even my side projects. Now, one of the things I did pick up that isn't quite here is if I go for really chilly on this static string here, and and I hit the save and the reload, then I would expect that chili here, if I get the right data coming back, would come back as, and I'll just have to do it again. There's a chili, and it didn't actually change. So it's not picking up that piece. So static content versus runtime changes. Not all the changes that are applicable will come through at this point in time. It's not a full reload of everything, but generally this sort of thing, you're not changing, hopefully, that often. And it's more a case of, logic down here, and I wanted to change one of those values, for example, save my changes, hit it, and then I can check what's going on. Or, I want to change the dates because I want to start from, the 30th, and I wanted to start 10 days back. So I do that. And then I go counter and reload, and there we go from the 20th. So it's kind of cool. Static array initializer will have been updated, but nothing calls it because it's static. Yeah, exactly. So those sort of things, kind of cool. But I think this particular feature is going to make devs hopefully really happy. If you're a command line person who does .NET Watch as well, it works there. You've got to do a small config change just on .NET Watch to keep on top of that. Now, you noticed one other thing. When I was doing the debug and running everything, it started the .NET code, then it kicked in the NPM side of things here. So I'm doing web and I go, okay, I really want this change. I kind of have to stop debugging and start it again. So let's kill that one off just for fun, murder it, and then hit F5 again. Now you'll see that the windows have gone away that were here. I had the two windows going on, and so it's going to come back in. It's going to start up this, and it's going to do its thing and whatever else. The reason it stopped everything is because I hit Control-C in the window. So you can see now it's starting up both. Once this actually kicks back in, Node does its build. Wait a second. So this is our NPM window here. This is our .NET window. And I've got my really chilly, really super chilly. Wait a minute while it's happening. And go. And not go. And go.
Oh, it's just starting.
It's starting the development server. It's just, having a think. It is. There it goes. All right, now it's good. And then there's our page.
Cold reload was demonstrated. All right.
So I want to change this back to here. Save that, and in my my debug, let's just do it this way. Stop debugging. You see, this is still running now. So if I then go and hit F5 again, it's not doing anything with the node side of things. It left it running, which means then the SPA side of things picked up, the server's kicked in, it's gone, hey, we're already here. Go nuts. I don't have to restart everything. So again, just saving time in terms of to the process. So I'm not sure, again, front end, wow, you can see my machine's running slow. you see every character being painted just there. Yeah. It's great. So yeah, that whole stop restart process and just leaving Node running. In fact, just for fun, let's do this while I'm doing it. Dates with David, because that's cool. So it's still doing its thing in the background. So that React side of things, no change at all. So I can still be editing. I could be in VS Code doing it. I could be wherever I want. Hit F5, come in, do my back-end changes again now. All good. Everything's there. And So we kind of have that hot reload on the front end. We've got a warm reload, if we wish to call it, on .NET code, and cold reload for stuff where we actually had to change all the static content. So we don't want that many dates, do we? Do we want that many dates with David? David, how many dates do we want with you? 6 is way too many, my friend. We're going to have to drop that down to 2 at most. We can't have too much of a good thing. And there it is. Job done. So there are all the different combinations. 22, keep an eye on it. Now, probably one other thing worth mentioning is this one. So let's do this. Actually, probably put it before. Let's do it before the return statement. IntelliCode, or IntelliSense completions. If I go var x equals enumerable dot, hopefully something comes up. No, you're not thinking. Let's do something more interesting. Let's go logger dot. Come on. Log. There's line completion, which is kind of cool. Come on, think. Come on. All right, and it's broken. Excellent.
Goodness, a red line, Richard, underneath.
I don't know. You think I make stuff up, right? Definitely does IntelliSense line completion. So when it's picking up, and it might be just, I don't know, that if I've not got enough code. Oh, look, there it goes. It's finally registered. I don't know if you saw that. Underscore logger dot begin scope, yay, and a little thing to accept dot whatever else.
It means you can write a program that doesn't do anything that you want, but you can keep pressing.
But I didn't type much, which is a good thing. Knowing that IntelliSense will look at patterns in your code as well now with the IntelliCode aspects. If you've got it all enabled, it should make a lot of the more plumbing stuff that you might have to do simpler to put together. So just keep an eye on that as it fleshes out. 22 itself, in terms of where it is, doesn't cover everything that 2019 does. If you've got a lot of extensions, you'll have to wait, because 22 being 64-bit means that a lot of the extensions aren't yet capable of running in 64-bit mode. Yeah, not quite GTP3 correct, but maybe a little bit more contextual. Or we can do deep fakes of our own code and pretend we were the developer. But yeah, interesting stuff. So kind of cool. So I'm going to leave that one aside, and let's just talk. Yes, let's terminate you by
going to Windows.
Shall we talk Windows 11?
I know, we've got 15 minutes. So
15 minutes. All right. So actually, one other thing that you're all going to be excited about is this. Can you tell it to autocomplete lines until all tests pass? We could try. It's easy. Just put assert true at the start of every test. I don't see what the issue is. See, I thought you'd be all excited by this one. Shh. Windows Forms. Actually, it's more an interesting thing. Windows 11, now that it's out, and the reason why I segued here briefly is because you may recall a little while ago we were talking Project Reunion, WinUI, all those sort of things around desktop technologies. All of that's changed now with Windows 11. It is now the Windows App SDK. So not the Windows SDK, but the Windows App SDK. And here it is on the GitHubs. feel free to jump in there and contribute. I'm sure there's not much in terms of code in here, but this is where Project Reunion, Win32, WinUI, all the desktop stuff has turned up. And you can see this was the old Project Reunion 0.80 release. Hopefully that's visible on screen for people. This is where it's at now. So this is everything desktop-wise coming down onto a single platform for Windows 11 and Windows 10, I should mention. So 10's not left in the cold. So Windows App SDKs, different platforms, WPF, Win32, et cetera, et cetera. Windows 11 itself, has everyone seen it, the preview? James, you've had a look?
I haven't installed it, but I've read about it and looked at videos.
I don't think we can install it yet. Windows 11.
Can't you register to get a preview access?
Yeah.
By myself.
What have I hit? Oh, I've hit a blog post because I clicked that as well. I'm not going to play a video. It's not very exciting. Look, they've moved the start.
Yes, I think this was the one I saw. Yes.
Yeah. It can go back to the left. Don't panic for people who prefer it over here, or like me who put it up in the top corner up here just to confuse people. I think they've done this simply because there's those really, really ridiculously wide monitors you can get now. And if you've got it always at the left, it's like, my menu is over there somewhere. And you just kind of
rounded corners is funny.
Rounded corners. Look at those rounded
corners. Every 5 years, it just switches between square corners and
roundedness. Beautiful.
It's just like the fashion, so you know you've got the latest, whether you got the right round corners or square corners. It wasn't that long ago everyone was like, oh, we're back to square corners again. Now we're back to round corners again.
Oh, yeah. Scott, you've got the Insiders build, is it? Because I haven't seen that. I'm on the Insiders program. I just haven't seen it. Probably because I've been working today or something. Teams is in here. You can put Teams in, which is kind of cool. So that you need those 64 gigs of RAM so you can do stuff. Though, interestingly, as a diversion, here's a little thing. Teams will use half the memory because they're dropping Electron.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And moving to WebView 2. So interesting thing on here, and few things. Firstly, it's not a Blazor application because they're now 100% on React instead of Angular. Using a GraphQL and everything else. But yeah, that move from Electron is simply because Teams has high memory use because of Chromium and the Chromium default behavior. I didn't know some of this. So I've possibly been giving Teams a bad time, not through any fault of their own other than their choice of platform I built it on. But kind of interesting. And I would assume that Teams on Mac, because WebView 2 is Windows only, at least at this point in time, will still be on potentially that Chromium-based approach with the Electron shell, but at least on Windows, it'll be different, and that means this thing here won't take up as much memory either. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, David, when WebView 2 is definitely the thing that's happening here. That's already and apparently sitting behind a lot of the Microsoft 365 apps as well. So things you learn when you start paying attention to stuff. And as devs, this is one of those things that maybe not Teams itself in terms of using it, but that plumbing under the hood and how do you deploy things across different platforms? If you've already got React code, do you run it still and maybe target WebView or something like that? Or do you go and bite the bullet and turn it into Blazor and run WebAssembly? And a whole lot of interesting challenges coming up. And as Alan's saying there as well, WebView uses Edge Chromium under the hood. But if you think about what happened with Edge as a browser and the fact that it runs on Linux now and it's cross-platform there, I can't see WebView 2 being too much of a stretch theoretically to get working on Linux, and then you've got that cross-platform approach in any case because you've got that covered. So kind of interesting on that one. It's not right to blame Electron for the bloat, says Andrew. I don't know. You've seen a lot of the Electron apps, they're memory hogs. And VS Code is quite light, yes, true. Regardless, it's an interesting approach. One of the things that VS Code doesn't do is video processing, for example. So that's always going to be a chew up of memory. A few other things from around the place. Windows Terminal, if you haven't seen it, has Quake mode now, which is fun. So you can do things like that and go, hey, I've got a terminal. Woo. That's exciting. All you got to do is name one of your Windows _Quake and then it loads up. It's great. And then I feel like a real nerd again. Windows 11 Store is finally UWP up. Yes, it is. And Windows 11 supports Android. So there's your UWP app for, it's not the store, wherever it is, it's down the picture. There it is. There's your UWP app, which is cool. But loading Android apps, that one I find really amusing, which is why I need to show you this particular one from Twitter, because Twitter's always a good source of amusement. Here it comes. Wow, my machine. And James says he's not in a rush.
Oh, quick, hide all the secrets. Oh, my God.
Hide the secrets. There you go. Oh, dear, oh, dear. So we've got Windows subsystem for Linux, Android sitting there under the hood. We've got Windows 11. It's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm not even sure why I want to run some of those Android apps on my machine. I suppose it's handy for WhatsApp.
That was the example they mentioned, like
yeah,
in competition with the Macs, which can soon run iOS apps on the Mac. Then what are we going to do? Well, we need Android apps, obviously.
Yeah, job done. Ecosystem solved.
I don't know how they'll handle screen size and stuff. So
the cool thing now is I can take Maui, where I can build for Windows UI or Windows App SDK. I can build for iOS and I can build for Android. So what I could do is on Maui is I could build my native app for Android, then redeploy it back as via the store to my machine on Windows, running for and no, Andrew, they don't need Google Play because the store is the open store thing with Amazon, which is why Amazon's mentioned in there.
Which seems even one more animal in your picture.
Yeah, download it through the Amazon App Store. So, yeah. So imagine recording and posting a video from TikTok. Can we just stop there? That's it. I'm done.
You can dance in front of your computer. Yeah.
Not in public.
We look forward to this partnership with Amazon.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. The other interesting one's this one, the revenue split. So not taking the 30% or anything else, but just going, hey, you want to go and do things, you can. And so that'll keep Epic Games happy. They can keep all their revenue.
You won't be able to run anything which needs Google services.
Sure. Is that in there?
Yeah, the Google services underlie most of the stuff with location and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, but if you call those things and you're just doing it through a Google account with you've authenticated, can you not call those things directly and just have it work anyway?
Waiting for.
Yeah, I'm waiting as well. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I remember I used to have an open source one, and I had to put the Google services on to make most things work.
If you don't have an abstraction layer, it won't work. Okay. That's kind of cool. Well, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
It is an interesting play.
Yeah. Again, I think at least as devs in the short term, maybe you want to build a PWA version of your thing instead. Get that listed in the store. Why you wanted it? The only reason to put it in the store is discoverability, to be honest. Because you obviously can jump in and hit the add button that turns up in Edge, for example. If I went to, like I do this on my work machine, use Outlook webmail, installed as a PWA without any drama at all. Why would that be in the store? Why would you list it? Literally so you can just search for it and find things potentially.
Yeah, my kids use the store. So slightly
that's
scary to have them download things.
Yeah, like games and stuff, because Luke is there. Interesting thing. So I think in terms of what's happening, and just kind of coming back to this overarching thing around, everything from the build announcements onward, there's been a number of other things that have come up. Actually, one thing that was interesting, at least for me, we heard not much about code spaces still. GitHub code spaces. I'm still like, come on, where is that? Previews there, it's not available for people. I'm like, but Docker released a thing called Docker Dev Environments. Maybe we can look at that as a stopgap for a while. Obviously, there's Gitpod as well, and tools like that for doing those development in the cloud things. Microsoft released an Open JDK for Java, and you're going, why do I care? Well, it turns out if you're doing any of the Android stuff with Maui, it runs with the Open JDK under the hood. So that's kind of cool, and it gets you again off the Oracle "we might sue you at some point in the future" problem, because Oracle has to get their investment back somehow. Azure SQL has now got blockchain capabilities again. I'm not saying it's for crypto, but they've got a ledger capability. So if you're doing any of those things, the comment, James, put it on screen.
I'll put that one up.
Put it on. There it is. Yes, you
It's
can.
been waiting for a while.
Success. You and 2 other people around the world are going to be very happy. API management, Azure API management had some things around supporting WebSockets. So if you're doing WebSocket things and you want to make sure they're available as a API managed experience, then that's handy with potentially a SignalR behind the hood, for example. From a development perspective as well, around DevOps and automation and infrastructure as code, Azure Bicep is becoming more and more promoted, I suppose, by Microsoft, so worth having a look at. But at the same time, around Build, the Pulumi conference was happening, and Pulumi 3 was released, which lets you do effectively a lot more of that genuine C# infrastructure as code thing. So there's a lot to think about in terms of those concepts coming up. But in general, I think that's probably a good run through of all the things that have been happening in just the last month as we've come in towards the end of financial year. So it's been kind of crazy, really. But again, I probably should scroll my screen back up to the infamous picture. Look at that. Blended effects in the background as well, just for fun. So enjoy your development as it comes up. Enjoy lockdown. James, have we got anything else that I need to cover, or do you want to jump to questions and competitions and abuse from the audience?
Any last questions before we go to competition? Is there anything you want to ask Richard? His opinion or feedback or whatever?
Or just, give me a hard time. It's all good.
No, maybe not.
The answer is not at the moment, so I think they're probably waiting. James, ask a question.
All right. So I got two questions for you, as usual, and 2 licenses for JetBrains. Anything to give away? So first one, give me 2 C# 10 features, please. That are cool. Yeah.
New features, right? Not just like I can do
new
forwards.
features. Can't be in like C# 1. Needs to be new in C# 10.
The var keyword. I'm watching, waiting for people to type things.
No comments so far.
Wow. Did everyone fall asleep or forgot? Hang on. Do I still have it open? Or could go back. Global usings.
Global using. You need 2, Andrew.
I need 2. What could the second one be? I wonder.
Oh, Richard, that makes it pretty easy. You're testing if they're even awake now. Well, they're still going to get the second one. Oh, wait, global using was mentioned. Someone needs to put in 2 in 1 comment. All right.
Admit null parameter checking. Okay, you got to put 2 in 1 comment, as James said. You can't just do a half answer. Right. Got to finish the job.
Right. Finish the second one. You don't have to do it in the same comment if you want. That's all right. I can cope.
You can cope?
We need a second one, though.
Can I join you? Can I just jump in myself?
Probably. Do you need a license, Richard?
I don't use Rider, but
they've got a lot of products.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a slow day in the prizes.
Oh, it is. All right. Maybe it was too tricky. What's the second one?
Andrew's got half a license and Amit's got half a license. I don't know what to do.
David said chat dropped out.
Do you want to put in Andrew's comment and then you get the license? I don't know. Maybe the comments aren't working well today.
We are on fire.
Oh man, very good.
Yes.
Yes. Send me a message in Meetup, and I'll send you through with your email address. Sorry, and then
async with timeout. Oh, he got there, but a little late. Did chat drop out for people? Is that what happened?
Yeah, we're having comment problems.
They can't comment to tell us they're having comment problems.
We've got comment problems.
All right, let's go to question 2.
All right, so question 2. This time, I think we'll just ask for 1 new feature because 2 might be pushing it. So, what's a cool new feature in Visual Studio 2022?
Obviously, not
the line that fills in random code for you. And you just press tab. That was always the dream with ReSharp. You just keep pressing Command Enter till it writes your whole program. All right. Using more memory. Cold reload. I don't know, maybe Alan. I don't think that was proven. That was hearsay about using more memory.
Cold reload's not a new feature.
We had cold reload for a long time. Oh, look, someone with a proper hand.
Do we want to call it? Yeah, we can call hot reload.
All
Makes
right.
all tests pass.
I think Ian's won that one. All right. So Ian and Emmett, send me a message on Meetup with your email address, and I'll send you through the license. All right. Well, if anyone's got anything they want to hear about next month, for hopefully, well, we'll see. Anyway, we'll be online no matter what next month.
We will.
Whatever you want to hear about, let us know. Or even better, if you've got a presentation that you want to give on a topic that you're interested in, or want to be knowledgeable about after you've written the presentation, then it's an excellent opportunity in a relatively nice environment here. We won't heckle too much. The crowd can't heckle too much because they're only in comments now.
Because they're all on mute. We're not in person because we're all in lockdown.
Yeah, so everyone will be kind anyway. Yes, let us know if there's anything you want to talk about. Yeah, probably the easiest is just Meetup message or Twitter, either way. All right.
Awesome.
Anything else, Richard?
Nope, that's everything. No
Oh,
promises
true,
from the crew.
Melbourne's not in lockdown, as pointed out. Yes. If you're not in lockdown, enjoy it.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy school holidays for those who've got kids and it's school holiday times. I'm sure it's going to be
not going away on
in your
holiday
house.
anymore. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk to you all next month. Until then,
Good night.
bye all.